The internet was in its infancy. People weren't just browsing this kind of light adult style content. So putting it on CD-ROM was probably seemed like good business at the time, but without a lot of money behind it.
I feel like that's the question, is how did this happen? Because at the time that it happened, it represents a giant step back in technology on a system touted as being more capable than what came before it, right? This game came out on 3DO.
To fully understand how something like this happens on a console, you need to look at the console industry as a whole. Up until the mid-'80s or so, consoles are pretty open-ended. After that point going forward, console manufacturers actually implemented systems to essentially require developers to adhere to their standards in order to publish the games. The 3DO, though, was a very different beast. So this was the brainchild of Trip Hawkins, who was the founder of Electronic Arts. Rather than just building a box called the 3DO box, they actually built a standard. And companies like Panasonic, Sanyo, and the like, they would then build boxes to the specification. But along with that, they essentially left it wide open. You didn't have to have the 3DO seal of quality. That was not a requirement on that. If you had the manufacturing capabilities, you could publish on 3DO. And that meant the wide variety of quality in terms of what appeared on the system was it was interesting.
You get opportunists coming in and saying, okay, well, what do we need to make a video game? Well, there's no requirements that you have to really meet other than the fact that it has to run on a console. You have to be able to plug in a controller and make a choice, at least to start the game. And I guess that's it. So you look at Plumbers, and yeah, it is the bare basics of a video game, but a video game nonetheless.
Plumbers' format is very strange. The fact that you're getting these stills with what I've heard described before as sort of a radio drama.
Oh, kiss me, Jane. Kiss me as if it were the last time.
Did they only do it this way because they didn't understand how to get it to work with video? So they just said, let's just use photographs. It makes you wonder if they have some sort of video master of this stuff and they're just like pulling selects out of each one.
I feel like they had no ability to capture full motion footage, digitize it, and figure out the technological component in actually making that full motion video run on the platform. It's a lot easier to just display an image or whatever.
The video codecs of that era were extremely rudimentary, huge in terms of file size. You couldn't get a lot of video in there. So it's entirely possible that they just at some point deemed that, okay, we can't do this on one disc. And by going with still shots, it basically allows them to tell something that's a little bit longer and has different branches. If you try to do it all with video, I'm not sure it would have actually been feasible on that single disc.
I would think that moving from still frame to still frame could be a beautiful way to make a video game. I mean, that's what Myst is. Myst is just a series of still images stapled together, and they're stapled together in a compelling way that made it one of the most successful video games of all time. So Plumbers doesn't commit a crime just by using that format. It could have been a very effective kind of storytelling game.
They kind of just went with the easiest route possible to produce this game on as little money as they possibly could. And I feel like that lends a lot to its charm because it's just so obviously low budget.
Even though it's a low budget game, you still need to be able to develop for this platform. And that was still a taller bar to cross compared to building a game for the PC at that era. So the developers of Plumbers Don't Wear Ties obviously had to climb enough of a ladder to get over that hump to actually be able to program 3DO software to get this released on the system, even if technologically it's rather anemic.
So the format just comes off as cheap. It's just another way to signal to you, oh, we didn't want to spend money on this, but you bought it. Ha ha.